Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And while I still have access to the Theory crafting client with all the cards and all that good stuff, I wanted to use that to go over the 45 plus cards that have been officially announced that will have their nerfs all fully reverted when they rotate to wild, but they will actually be live in standard on March 10th for a week before rotation actually occurs for that Frankenstein meta we get every single year, where a card like, Tigress Plushie goes back to 3 mana where it started. We'll go through all the changes and note the like some of the omissions that are like kind of sad for some players. In particular, Raza, for example, is not being reverted. It is staying the same. So that's a bit of a bummer. And some cards are also being like halfway modified. So lots to go over. And of course, if you want to win cards from the upcoming Cataclysm expansion, we are still giving away 2 regular pre-orders and 2 mega bundles. To enter that giveaway, like and comment in the video, link down description below, the one with that thumbnail over there. Be subscribed to the channel. Every 1,000 subs we get until that rewards track refresh goes live. And I guess these wild reverts go live next Tuesday. I will add another mega bundle. So hit that sub button. Make me go baroque. So yes, Tigress Plushie going from 4 mana back to 3 mana. We'll see if it sees play in wild. I love this card. I think it's sweet and happy to see it go back. Jungle Gym, I think it went to 2 durability, right? It will have 3 durability. Again, not sure it will be much of a wild player, but again, all these cards will be legal for like a week in standard. So should be pretty interesting to see how it goes. Concierge goes back from 4 mana to 3 mana, but I will note Seabreeze Chalice not being reverted, and that was like one of the most busted interactions with the card, so should be okay, knock on wood, of course. Party Fiend back to a 1 mana 1/1. I don't know if you're gonna play this in the Demon Seed or Pain Warlock and Wild, but yeah, the 2 mana version was pretty bad, and it's back to 1. Everything Must Go goes from 9 to 8 mana. It was the Robocaller interaction that was pretty nuts, and not really a big wild card, so again, not a big deal on that one. Malted Magma can now go face again, and that could be a pretty good burn killing card in wild, so look out for that one. Can get nostalgic for Wave of Nostalgia as it's back to 5 mana and was never really a big wild card. This is one of the biggest reverts. Ethereal Oracle going back to 3 mana. This saw play in like Shadow Priest and other wild decks. I would not be surprised if this is a wild player yet again. Dreadout Handler's back to being a 2/2. I guess that's fine. Alien Encounter summons 2/5s instead of 2/4s now, and again, that's fine. Hunter's Virtue regains its lifesteal ability. Never a big wild card, but definitely a lot better. Domino Effect goes back from 4 to 3 mana, and I absolutely expect to see the seed play, whether it's like the Demon Seed or Reno Warlocks. This was pretty good in wild, not good at 4. It's pretty good at 3, although maybe Evenlock played it, I don't know. But yeah, pretty significant wild change. Kerrigan back to 7 mana, and again, StarCraft didn't have the hugest impact on wild, but it'll be interesting to see if it matters at all. Same with Jim Raynor, back to 7 mana. Again, I don't know how much of impact these will have in wild, and I'll even show that, Artanis, all the StarCraft hero cards back to their original cost. This one might be the most relevant, in particular with Druid, with Hero Power Druid. I wonder if that will make a comeback at all. Our cheesy boy Gorgon Zormu back to 3 mana. I always felt like the nerf to it to 4 didn't feel that fair, and yeah, in wild, I don't know if it'll really matter, but it's nice to see him back at 3. Spawning Pool goes back to 1 mana, making it like 0 with a tutor card, but you'll note Zergling did not get changed. It still just summons another Zergling. Liftoff also gets bumped back to 3 mana, and the Starship pieces, it does look like the Starship pieces are basically the same as what they were before. So yeah, only the 2 random adapts, and like it can only hit minions. So it looks like just the mana cost on these cards are back, but the Starship pieces themselves, yeah, they stay the same. Chrono Boost goes back to 4 mana, not at 5 mana anymore, although it was pretty good at 5, at least in standard, obviously not for wild. Seaside Giant goes back to being 10 mana and costing 2 less for each time you use a location in this game. This could be relevant in wild because there's more and more locations, the faster these giants can come down. So look out for this one. This could be a big hitter in wild, at least at some point. You might want to avoid standard until King Plush leaves, because yes, King Plush fully reverted and Imbue Hunter still in standard, although the copy card I believe is 5 mana. That's still the thing, right? So look out. King Plush, yeah, he might be chewing people up in standard for the next week or so. Oh yeah, and one of the best standard cards right now in Cliff Dive is to 6 instead of 7. So, oh no, I did the thing. Regardless, yeah, it's 6 mana. So again, you might want to hang out in the early access brawl or the arena. Oh wait, they upped the prices on all of those so much lately. Regardless, yeah, it might be a bit spooky. Curse Campaign goes back to 3 mana. It was only really good with the starship pieces, especially the armor gain, but they nerfed that, and yeah, there might be a reverter on that, so this might be gross again. But yeah, in Wild, not super relevant, but down to 3. Ball Hog also gets its 3 damage. Battlecry and Death Rattle restored was nerfed because of Ravenous Fellhunter, which is still around. So again, standard looks a little bit spooky. Brittle Bone Buccaneer gains its health back, and I think it's supposed to have an Unholy rune. There's some weird issue in this client with runes. I'll just show you, like there's a Husk right now that has a blood rune that didn't before. They didn't nerf Husk preemptively. It's just a bug that should be resolved when the actual patch goes live next week. Just an FYI. Fighting Figure goes back to 2 mana, so if you want to play your Starship DK, it got a little bit better. Reserve Spot goes back to 3 mana, so you can get that big mana cheat double copy thing going on, which again, probably relevant in standard, but not so much in Wild, and it's only a week, so again, I'm going to be hiding completely in early access brawl. Thankfully, I've saved my gold. Corpsicle got nerfed to an unplayable 3, back at 2, and should probably see some play, at least in standard for a bit. Not sure about Wild, but anything to help Wild DK is welcome because it's not very good. Ultralisk Cavern goes back to 3 mana, so if you've been playing an even Warlock, you might be sad, but you can play it in Odd Warlock, which, well, you're gonna lose because you're playing Odd Warlock, but you can play this there. RC Rampage goes back to 4 mana after being nerfed from 5 mana. Don't know if I've ever seen this played in Wild, but it will help out at least there. And surprisingly, we have some older Wild cards like Possessed Lackey finally being buffed from 6 to 5 mana. I doubt it's any good in modern Hearthstone, especially Wild, but it's nice to see him finally back at his original status, which is pretty darn cool. Giggling Inventor also, this got nerfed to 7, then put down to 6, and is back at 5 mana. Another good throwback, and Blood Knight's gonna be meta in Wild again with this card, probably not making a big difference, but it's cool again to see it 5 again. And Blade Dance also gets reverted down to 2 mana. This was in my Demon Hunter deck that hit rank 1 Legend Soul Fragment way back in the day, and again, shouldn't make a big difference in Wild, but nice to see it get that buff. And still waiting on the Skull of Gul'dan to be reverted, but I don't know if that will ever happen. And there are cards that have been modified from their original version. Chia Drake got buffed to a 3/5, nerfed back to a 2/4, and is a 3/5 again, so it will stay at its, you know, buff state overall. Lamplighter kind of gets a hybrid revert. It now reads Battlecry, deal 1 damage, improved by each turn in a row you played an elemental, so this can get really crazy, but it stays at 4 mana instead of the original 3 mana it was, and is also a 4/3 now instead of a 4/4, I believe. The Wondrous Wand for Marin and all associated cards with Marin, like, you know, the original Marin the Fox, also I believe Togwoggle for Rogue. You now draw 3 cards, set their cost to 1 instead of 0. So it's not 3 cheaper, it's not 0, it's now set their cost to 1. So you get a ton of mana cheap, but you can't play them all for 0 mana. Rides of Despair started at 1 mana, got nerfed to 2, and then 3, and is now back down to 2. So they picked the happy medium of the options. And yeah, Starship decks will be a thing next week because Arcanite Defense Crystal got Taunt back and is 4 mana. So you can Ravenous Fellhunter this again. Oh god, I'm not looking forward to that. Again, I'm glad I can hide in early access brawl. Murmur gets its effect back if your Battlecry minions cost 1 but immediately die after being played. But instead of being 6 mana, it is 9. So you can still do the thing with this, can be utterly broken, but it's 9 mana. So hopefully it's not an issue in Wild like it kind of was with Shudderwalk before, but 3 more mana, maybe we'll be okay, right? Food Fight goes back from, goes from 4 mana to 3 mana, and I believe the original version had like 6 health, so that's why it's in the part where it kind of has that buffed version, the strongest version this card ever saw. Brain Gill goes back to being a 2 mana 2/1, however, it still only gives your other Murlocs Death Rattle draw card, so it cannot buff itself, so it's a little bit worse than the original version. Deputization Aura gives +2 attack instead of, well, the nerf version was +1 attack, and the first version was +3 attack, and this was a really good card in Wild too, so we'll see if it sees any play at +2, but definitely is a lot better, twice better than the other version. Hydration Station goes back to 8 mana, but keeps the different highest cost taunt minion, so you can't get the same thing over and over, spam it that way. Ceaseless also goes back from 125 to 100, making it a 10-10, not a 15-15, which is actually a bit of a nerf to like dredging this for armor and warrior, and Holy Wrath's already dead, so it doesn't really matter there. But yeah, it's a nerf slash buff for some of these decks. And Boogie Down gets buffed to 3 mana, and instead of giving the minions taunt or whatever, it still keeps the summon 1 cost minions from your deck, finale, summon another. So those are all the changes. Again, they go live next Tuesday, and it will be an interesting meta to say the least. I will note that Raza, again, did not get changed. Raza, the resealed, it stays the whole shuffle version. I guess they're just scared about the hero power stuff, and I get it. It's just kind of a shame because that card was really helping out Raza, Priest, and Wild, but it was kind of degenerate to say the least. I would say the other biggest changes are to Rogue, or lack thereof, is Sandbox Scoundrel stays. Minions costing 2 less, or your next card costing 2 less rather than 3, which a lot of people wanted to see it reverted because of the interaction, I think, with like Hook Tusk, which was a pretty cool deck for a lot of people, and kind of sad to see that happen. That one I thought would have been okay to revert. The one I was like scared of, because it's just, you never know what this could break, is Sonya. But they're both staying. I guess they're scared of both of them. Sonya still only works on minions, not on just any card. So I think those are like the biggest ones to not get hit. There are some odd ones, like the Boom card for Warrior not being changed to, it's still different minions, but it was never a big deal in Wild, so it's kind of interesting, but I guess they were just happy with that space. And there are other ones, of course, you can mention of cards that you wish were reverted or not. Oh yeah, and while editing, I'm like, how did I forget Ziliax? Yeah, Ziliax, none of the parts, none of the modules, nothing changes. It stays as is, and this is the most nerfed card in Hearthstone history, so pretty interesting. They're like, you know what? We're just gonna leave it. It's still good. We're gonna leave it as is. So yeah, Ziliax is one I probably should have mentioned, but I did throw it in there at the end. But yeah, these are a lot of changes. So again, these all go live next Tuesday, and these cards will stay like this in Wild for, well, years to come, most likely. Anyways, stay tuned. Later today, we'll have another gameplay video from the theory crafting event. And then over the weekend, we'll take a look at what I think will be the best and the worst cards from Cataclysm, and you guys can let me know how right or wrong I am. It's gonna be mostly wrong, but regardless, lots of content to check out. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.